Welcome to the This Is Our Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. Joined with EJ and Andrew. Andrew coming in just in time when we went live. What are you doing, Andrew?
Perfect time.
I saw that. I was like, hey, look at that.
Yeah. So we're going to be diving into the Alabama-Wisconsin game in a few minutes. But, Andrew, when you look back at the last weekend of college football, what sticks out to you?
On a personal level, that I, as a Florida fan, will not get to enjoy DJ Lagway after this season, probably, because someone's going to offer him a lot of money like Texas Tech to go be a player there. But on a professional level, it's still chaos as normal. Some fun players are emerging. I enjoy so far some of the teams that took in some notable transfers. They've played well so far.
You want to drop any names?
I was going to say David Bailey from Texas Tech I've enjoyed so far. He went there with all the promise in the world, and so far he's delivered on that. They haven't really gotten to the thick of it. Sawyer Robertson has delivered on everything so far, which has been great to see, I think, especially for a quarterback class that's, I don't want to say struggling, because Sellers has been good and Nussmeier's delivered, I think, on what his expectations are, but seeing Robertson kind of step up's been fun. So yeah, it's been fun. It's early on. You haven't gone into the big conference games. There's some rivalry games this weekend and some in-state stuff for teams. So we're getting into the good stuff still.
Yep. And spoiler alert, next weekend, this podcast is the Utah-Texas Tech game.
Ooh. Oh, David Bailey. Perfect.
Nice. Perfect time.
Look at that. You see, you didn't even know you were setting yourself up.
Showbiz. That's how I work.
Yeah. So, EJ, how about you? When you look at like college football last weekend, what's jumping out to you, or which players like caught your attention?
Like Sawyer Robinson caught my attention. He put up some big numbers. John Mateer caught my attention with that display against Michigan. Like pretty much the quarterback play. Like we're all tuned in on the quarterback play. We've seen the Lenore Sellers. It's not all perfect. Nobody's really wowing anybody. Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, when I look at Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, he just looks like an NFL quarterback. He just looks like the things he was doing with trying to ID coverages, pre-snap, using motion in his own offense to ID coverages, and then working off of that. I mean, that's NFL stuff right there. And it's week one of college football. So I'm going to enjoy watching Garrett Nussmeier, watching Lenore Sellers with just basically some FU plays, like I'm better than you are, so you can bounce right off me, and I'm just still going to throw a touchdown pass. And a shout out to Marlon Klein for making me look smart, for listening to him as one of my sleepers, and now he's making me look like I know what I'm doing a little bit.
You know something? Speaking of your sleepers, on the last podcast, they were calling out Marcus Siegel as an example of a safety, like, because I guess he's starting right now.
Yeah. Oh,
he
wow.
started last weekend. Nice. And I remembered you covering him last draft cycle.
Yeah, so, right after the combine.
Yep. So, EJ, I'm always paying attention. I'm just saying, I am thrilled that you are podcasting with draft professors. I'm having a lot of fun learning from both you and Andrew. We even had, like, we covered the Thursday podcast before you covered the Illinois Duke game.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouted out Matthew Bailey on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
And he jumped out when Illinois was on defense. So he is the other Illinois safety. I think that's the right way to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think a lot of people are looking at Miles Scott, but Matthew Bailey had a pretty good game for Illinois, kind of thing. So we're going to dive into Alabama, Wisconsin. And we're going to start with Wisconsin because we've covered Alabama a lot on this channel. We haven't spent a lot of time on Wisconsin. EJ, did you say that Riley Mahlman was a player that that you're looking at for Wisconsin? You want to talk about him for a little bit?
Yeah, you can get a look at Riley Mahlman. He's a bigger guy. A look from just initial watch, he doesn't look to be the most fleet of foot offensive tackle. Week one, they had him at right tackle. This week they kicked him over to left tackle. They're shuffling up their whole offensive line. He's going to get tested this weekend against Alabama, but he looks to be strong enough to hold the point of attack. I would like to see if he has the flexibility to bend, to maybe kick into guard. I know he has the play strength. He looks like he has the type of play strength to hold the point of attack and move bodies in the trenches. But at tackle, he looks a little bit slow of feet, but like he's technically sound. He knows where to put his hands. He's got good grip strength, so he doesn't fall off a whole lot of blocks. I would say he'll probably be closer to a day 3 pick if he continues to trend the way he's playing. But there is upside for him as the offensive lineman at the next level.
So Andrew, do you have anything on Riley Mahlman?
Yeah, it was funny. When I was looking through everything and I was just jotting down a couple things, getting ready here. Mahlman, I feel like I've watched him for a couple. There's always names I feel like we say every week where it's like, I feel like I scouted him for a couple of years, and Mahlman is one of them. You talked about the frame. What I was looking at was I was checking his PFF numbers because I always just like to kind of use that as a gauge for the year because I haven't watched Wisconsin film this year so far. But like in the summer and in last year, I was looking at my previous summer report. Biggest takeaways were big frame, sturdy blocker. I put in there sled blocker, where he just has a really good ability to drive guys down the field, take them out of plays. And smart with good awareness. So far this year, PFF has him at 81.1 for pass blocking, 69.1 for runs. So it's working so far for him, I would say this year. But yeah, I'm excited to see him against some of those edge rushers at Alabama for sure. But Mahlman, I think, is definitely one of those guys where I don't think he's a name a lot of people talk about or even really necessarily know about. But I remember thinking last year, he's somebody that's your classic day 3 pick maybe, or the late day 2 pick where earns a job in camp. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's sturdy and reliable for at least a year or two. Even if it's just a stopgap placement for something. So a good project, kind of like I'll pull here for my work, Luke Gadecki type, where see what you got with them, develop them a little bit and go from there.
Okay. And EJ, anybody else from Wisconsin jump off the tape to you?
Wide receiver Vinny Anthony. He's about 5'11", 180. Got high hips for a 5'11" guy. He's very high cut, but he's a long strider, allows him to get downfield. He looks like he has some explosiveness in and out of his breaks. He has some running after the catch ability. He's got about in these past 2 weeks, got over 50 yards receiving. It looks like they're featuring him in the offense. He looks like a guy that can he can come into a team, play a little bit of inside, play a little bit of outside. Not the most overwhelming physical specimen, but I think skill wise he can survive at the next level with his route and running. He has good hands. I like receivers that attack the ball in the air when they reach out and just grab the ball out of the air instead of letting the ball come to them all the time. And I like receivers that have a little bit of run after the catch ability, and he has both of those traits. So he looks like a guy that can get in somebody's training camp and possibly make somebody's 53. And that's just early on from an early look. If he continues to be to produce against better competition like he has been, then he could go a little bit higher.
And then I think you had mentioned there was maybe one other player from Wisconsin that was worth talking about before we pivot to Alabama. There was a linebacker, I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna butcher his name. Hold on,
I can help you. Christian Alliegro.
Yes. There we go. Alliegro. Yeah, I can pronounce all these African names, but I can't pronounce Christian Alliegro. But yeah, he looks like 6'4", 247, something like that. Big kid. He's a guy, typical Wisconsin linebacker, not a super athlete, but good instincts, a good read and react. What I saw from him is he's not the fastest guy to get there, but he's gonna, if he can improve his reading recognition, his key and diagnose, that can improve his physical speed of getting there. They use him a lot. They use him as more of a weak side linebacker. They do use him in coverage. He has awareness in coverage, and he's a bigger guy, so he's taking longer strides. So he's covering a lot of ground to where you don't think he's moving fast, but he's still covering ground for you. He's a versatile guy. They try to use him as a pass rusher pretty much on blitzes or off the edge when they're in like a penny package or something like that. He's coming off the edge. But it's just he's a guy. He's not going to wow you athletically, but he's a guy to keep an eye on. He's one of those guys you drafted in the day 3 in the 6th or 7th round, and he makes your team as maybe possibly a backup, and then develops into a starter further on down the line. He's that type of guy. But he's just going to have to lean into the instinctual, the X's and the O's part of the game more so the physical part of the game. He's got a good size and all of that, but it's just that he's not that wow athlete that's going to run sideline to sideline.
Okay, and then Wisconsin has actually one of my favorite players in this draft class, and that's Billy Edwards Jr. Now, Andrew, you were mentioning that he's probably injured and he's not playing against Alabama, correct?
Yeah, he's questionable and traveling with the team, but the way they sound, Pete Thamel made it sound earlier, it sounded like it's a stretch, to say the least, which stinks, but nothing good could happen.
Yep. So Billy Edwards Jr. is in this draft class. He's on the Wisconsin roster, not playing against Alabama. If you're not familiar with the name, he was the one that was thrown to Ty Felton at Maryland last year. Do any of you have anything on Billy Edwards Jr. to talk about now?
Yeah, I mean, I watched him last year, and he looks like he gets the ball out quick, makes quick decisions. He's not one that's going to sit there and hold the ball and try to read everything out. He gets rid of the ball. He's functional mobility, I would say. Functional mobility, as far as arm talent, I would say is probably average by NFL standards. But you put all that together, he had a good. I don't know why he left Maryland. He had a good thing going on at Maryland. He was getting the ball out. He had Ty Felton. He's a guy where if you put talent around him, he can be your point guard and he can just deliver the ball around the offense. He can run your offense for you. He's not going to be the driving force in your offense, but he can run your offense. He'll probably get, if he goes into the draft, if he has a good season, he'll go into the draft. People will look at him as a backup, and then he'll go from there, whether he climbs the ladder or not. But he has talent to be a backup quarterback in the NFL. But it's just a shame he got hurt earlier on this season, and it's kind of a scary injury too because it's a non-contact injury. So we don't know. We know it's a knee injury, and we know it's a non-contact injury. So hopefully he gets back in and he can get some tape in.
Andrew, anything on Billy Edwards Jr.?
No, it's funny. I didn't even realize because when the Vikings drafted Felton, I went back and watched a little bit of Felton, but I didn't put a focus on who was passing him the ball. So, but I did like Felton when I watched the Maryland tape, but again, I didn't realize that's who was passing him the ball. So I inadvertently watched some Billy Edwards tape.
And that was how I came across him too, because I loved Ty Felton last year.
Okay.
I loved him. And then I started learning, there was Roman Hemby there, Billy Edwards Jr. I think they had a tight end too. But EJ, to answer your question, the reason Billy Edwards Jr. left Maryland is a name that we're going to be talking about in 3 years. His name is Malik Washington. He is a true freshman, and he made his debut at Maryland. So more than likely, Billy Edwards Jr. knew the writing was on the wall.
That's what it was.
They want to start the true freshman. He had to find another place to play.
Gotcha.
And I had to look that up while the two of you were talking. So that was how I was able to figure that out.
Washington's good. He's shined so far. I've seen bits and pieces, and he was getting the game day hype treatment even before the year. So he seems to be the real deal for them.
Yeah. So now we can pivot to Alabama and maybe start talking about maybe some of the matchups to some of the Wisconsin players that we just spoke about. But Andrew, who is your highest ranked Alabama player right now?
I was making that list here on the side, and I think it kind of stinks based off of summer scouting. I think Caden Proctor, who's honestly not played very well this year so far, coming into this thing was my top-rated guy. Again, I think I've said this sentence 800 times here so far. I definitely said it on the mock draft episode we did with Anthony. Proctor's best games last year were against the best competition Alabama had on the schedule. And Proctor has looked like a shell of himself compared to last year so far. And obviously Alabama's not had a good run of things, lost to Florida State in the opener and bounced back, but and I can't remember who they played last week, but I know they beat the
ULM.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah, just Proctor was my highest guy coming into this. I would say behind him would have been somewhere in that ballpark. I don't have my big board up now, but I was just kind of doing some quick notes. Probably Deontae Lawson or Germie Bernard. I think both of them are right up there. Bernard was one of my favorite receivers from the summer. So, and Lawson, I think, is a pretty good rangy linebacker. So I think he could sneak into the back end of first round. And I think Bernard could do the same thing. So they've got some talent. And then from there, they're obviously loaded from there. But, they're kind of like a Calipari Kentucky team right now where they've got all the talent in the world, but they're just not winning anything meaningful at the moment.
So, EJ, how about you? Who is your highest graded Alabama player right now?
I'm gonna say it's Domani Jackson. Honestly, right, and in close second is Caden Proctor, but I think I like the athletic profile that Domani Jackson brings. I like the physicality that he brings. He's a guy that you can count on him to play man coverage. He plays a physical brand of man coverage. How he does in zone coverage, that's a work in progress, but I like the nobody's going to run by him. I like the fact that nobody's going to run by him. You can put him in man coverage, and he'll at the very least hold his own. And he's a guy that's going to tackle for you. So I had him as one of my top corners during the summer. So I like what Domani Jackson brings to the table. Caden Proctor, all the physical traits are there. What I see from him is he's a guy. He can move anybody he wants to out of the way. Like in the run game, you see the power, you see the strength, you see the grip strength, you see him just tossing guys out of the way. It's his pass sets, and he doesn't have the quickest feet. I think having him at left tackle is doing him a disservice. He probably either a right check, probably the best position for him is probably right tackle or guard, but he doesn't have the quickest feet. In his pass sets is where you see the issues at, with the vertical pass, his vertical pass sets and 45-degree pass sets. 45-degree pass sets is coming out at a 45-degree angle, and he's receiving the pass rusher. Vertical pass sets, he's dropping straight back, and he's receiving the pass rusher. He looks best on his jump sets where you're initiating contact. You take one step forward and you initiate contact. That's where he looks better. He looks best at. He looks best going forward. He looks best attacking and using his strength to his advantage. He's not the most agile guy. He's a very good athlete, but he's not just agile guy footwork wise. That's where he needs to work. That's where what he needs to work on. I would probably say he probably needs to shed a little bit of weight too. But it's all stuff is very correctable. He's still a high upside player, but he has some holes in his game that he really needs to work on.
So with Proctor and his weight, we were doing some research because we were talking about a different tackle on the last podcast. Only 8 tackles have been drafted that weigh more than 350 pounds. And I don't remember how far back we went, but that's the Mekhi Bectons of the world, the Mekhi Becton and DeJuan Jones, and then is it Isaiah Wilson?
Probably.
I think I have the name right. It was Isaiah something.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the only 3 of the 8 names that I recognized. Becton had to kick into guard. DeJuan Jones is still playing tackle, but the other 5 guys, if they're even in the league, I don't even know. So my question to you guys is, with Proctor's weight, do you see that as it's going to push him down the board, or do you think it's okay?
I think, God, I'll tell you what, the names you just dropped scared the Jesus out of me. Because DeJuan Jones is not good, just plain and simple. And Mekhi Becton, his weight led to some injuries and chased him out of New York, and he had to restart at guard. And he's honestly turned into a pretty
Good
reliable,
guard.
serviceable guard.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there is that option for him. And Isaiah Wilson had more issues that weren't even football related, unfortunately.
Standing on
as far as the other schools, I don't know, but yeah. And but yeah, I think for him it's going to be. I think the combine would be a big thing for him, showing how he tests. I think that would really be the, no pun intended, the bookend of what that conversation would be. And like, obviously interviews would be telling for that. If he gets invited to an all-star game, that would obviously help because coaching staffs can put him into different situations, run him through different scenarios. But I would say, yeah, the combine would probably be his last stand of, if you want to be a tackle, you've got to show us you're willing to be, you can be athletic enough with that weight and move well enough. And like I said,
do you think dropping weight would actually improve his athleticism?
I mean, it would make him more agile, I would probably argue. I mean, it can't hurt. As someone who is big himself, I feel like I've moved better since I've lost a little bit of weight. But I'm not trying to stop 4'4" edge rushers coming off trying to get my quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it would hurt, but I think the combine, when you see those drills and you're able to put them through the specific movements of what you want to see in the NFL, I think that's where you kind of get a tell of what you're going to get.
How about you, EJ? What do you think of the weight?
See, the benefits is dropping the weight as far as an offensive tackle or a lineman. It makes you lighter on your feet, makes you a little bit more agile, and mainly it's for the stamina factor. Because you think about it, if he's going to be playing about 50 to 65 plays on offense per game, and you translate that over to 18 weeks, you need to, and you want to be at your best on every snap. If you're carrying a whole lot of weight, especially if it's bad weight, if it's good weight, then if it's all muscle and everything, then that's fine. But if it's bad weight, that's what's really slowing them down. And once your stamina goes down, your technique goes down, and that's how you get beat. And plus, it's the fact that carrying all that weight on your joints and on your knees, he may not get injured this year, but later on down the line, that may wear and tear on him. So I would say, yeah, definitely you should drop some weight. And the only success story I know of a player that big is Jordan Mailata. He's like 6'8", 365 and something, but he's a complete unicorn. So it's not a real good precedent for guys that size having a whole lot of success.
So Jerry Ostrowski says players with a lot of tissue get tissue injuries. Right? Like, so he says if like players, he was saying this like during his playing days, players that had a lot of muscle tended to get a lot of soft tissue injuries. Right? It was like a thing. And he says it on his podcast more than once. That's how I remember. So we've talked about Caden Proctor. We've talked about Domani Jackson. And then also Andrew mentioned Deontae Lawson. EJ, how high do you have Deontae Lawson?
I would say he's like a day 3 right now who can get up to day 2 type of player. I like the size. I like the instincts. He doesn't seem like the best athlete, not the quickest downhill guy, not the most explosive guy. But I've been watching him for a couple of years. But the instincts are there. The Keon diagnosis is there. He's got some play strength to stack and shed. He can get off of blocks. He doesn't get hung up on blocks a whole lot. But it's just that he's not that wow athlete that's gonna come downhill. He's not, and I don't think he's gonna be a good translation to pass rush or anything like that. I think he's just gonna be a pure stacked linebacker. But there's a place for him in the league. It's just the fact that, in the NFL, athletes get drafted first, so I think he's going to get pushed down a little bit.
And between Deontae Lawson and Christian Alliegro, do you have Lawson higher?
Yes, I got Lawson higher. I think I've been watching him do it for a little bit longer, So I trust his instincts. I trust his ability to diagnose what's going on the field. I trust him to translate the plays from the sideline to the defense. I trust him a little bit more than I trust Alliegro.
So it's interesting that, we've dropped at this point like 3 or 4 names for Alabama, and neither of you mentioned LT Overton. And there was something in the Draft Professor chat where some people are saying they don't see Overton as high. And there's a lot of people that may have Overton as like edge 4 or edge 5. Are you guys like round 1 on Overton? Or are you day 3 on Overton? Andrew, where are you on the LT Overton spectrum?
I have them. I do day grades, and I know that's such a broad brush, and it sounds like I'm cheating the system, but I feel like that just kind of gives players a little bit more of a flex to kind of be like, okay, if they go round 2, great. If they go round 3, great in my book. Like, to me, it's not going to be an overdraft in that sense. And on that note, that's what I have him as a day 2 guy. So I think that 2nd, 3rd round is kind of like a sweet spot for him. I think he has tools to work with. I think the motor is there. I think the size is there. I think the twitchiness needs to kind of develop and be there. It could be a little bit better. I think just the instincts could be a little better. I think just the overall awareness and kind of have a little bit better of a pass rush plan. Like, again, physical tools are all there. Everything's there to be a 1st round prospect. It's just they haven't been there consistently on film, especially when you look at other guys in the class like the Parkers and the Howells and the Falks. Like, those guys are showing it nonstop. I would say, like, if we want to go at tiers, he's probably closer to that Danny Dennis Sutton, who I'm a big fan of, but I think he shows a little bit more twitch than what Overton does. And I think that's the difference maker for Overton compared to everybody else in this class. And that's what a lot of people look for in edge rushers right now, is those twitchy athletes who, again, not to bring up the combine and hammer in these numbers, but like, you want the quick cone drills, you want that 10-yard split. You want to see those guys that burst off the ball so they can beat the tackles coming off the edge. And I don't think Overton does that enough right now.
Well, so Andrew, that may have been a hot take. Do you have Cassius Howell higher than LT Overton?
I would say, yeah, at this point. I think he's played, at least from what I've seen, casual viewing of Howell so far this year. I haven't done I
understand
in depth of anything, but I've been more impressed from what I've seen with Howell this year than I have been with Overton.
So EJ, I saw you nodding your head. Yes, are you Cassius Howell over LT Overton right now?
Absolutely. Thing about with LT Overton, I'm not sure he's an edge. What we've seen, where we've seen the best of LT Overton, he's been 2-gapping. He's been playing a 4-eye. He's been playing maybe a 5 technique in a 4-man front, or he's been playing a 3 technique. The best we've seen of him is with his play strength, his grip strength. He's got some hand work, and all of it, we've seen it inside. When he's been put in pass rush situations, you see the lack of get off, you see the lack of explosiveness. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but that just means he's better in another position. I would say let him play a 2-down 5 technique on a 4-man front. Let him play a 4-eye and an odd front. Let him play a 3 technique. Let him work inside. Let him use his play strength, because that's what his NFL trait is right now. Let him use his play strength. Let him use his grip strength. Let him use his hand technique, and let him develop as a pass rusher. Because I watched him against Florida State as a stand-up pass rusher, and it's like he's got no chance of getting to the quarterback. So I think he's just I think he's more of a. You can still call him edge by definition, but I think he'll be more effective as an interior player more than on the outside against an offensive tackle.
See, and I think what you guys are saying, a couple people said that during the summer, and I don't want to say I dismissed it, but we'll say I dismissed it. Right? But I think that's going to be the story, because he's 6'2", 275.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Right? So I believe there's some length issues if he's playing like a 5'7", tech, right?
Yep.
When you lack length, you want to kick inside. right?
Yep.
But 275 is too light to play a 3-tech.
Yeah, I mean, in certain situations, he can play in a 3-tech because, like, in obvious passing situations where you're just attacking a gap, you can get away with that. Where you don't want him as a permanent 3-tech is against the run, because then he'll get moved out of the way. So he's going to have to be. I think we're going to have to think of him more in terms of a specialized player instead of a every down edge rusher.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I was looking up just to get verified numbers. Dane Brugler has him at 6'2" and 3/8, 274. And he also mentions, again, not to steal anybody else's work, but just to further this discussion to know that we're not crazy. He mentions that he could get up to 290 if need be, and then expand his role on the interior of the line. So even Brugler's thrown it out there as like, it's not a crazy idea. So
okay. Yep. Follow the leader. If Dane Brugler says it, like I'm not here to.
That's what I was just throwing out somebody to say. Hey, if one of the apostles says it, I think it's okay to take it from the word of God.
Okay. So, EJ, which Alabama safety do you hire? Keon, Sabb, or Bray, Hubbard?
Right now, I would say that's it. Like I want to say
It's a tough question. Okay, so it's a tough question. They're close,
It
right?
is. I want to say Sabb because he's the better cover guy, but Bray Hubbard is just all over the field. I love the way he attacks downhill. He's 6'2", 218. I'm watching him and I'm using my imagination and I'm thinking to myself, can he put on an extra 15 pounds and play on the second level, be a linebacker? I don't know, but I mean, he's a former quarterback, so I trust him to read and diagnose things out. But I like the way Bray Hubbard, I like the way he attacks downfield. I don't know if he's going to test all that well as far as a straight line speed and everything. But Sabb is he's the guy you want to put on the roof of your defense. He's going to be the cover guy. Although I did not like the missed tackle he had in that Florida State game, but he's more of the cover guy. But like Bray Hubbard is the more exciting player to watch.
Andrew, how about you? Which safety from Alabama do you like more?
I like Hubbard more. So you get best of both worlds here inadvertently. Not that I don't like Sabb, but I just think Hubbard's more of a playmaker and kind of that Tasmanian devil type where he just wants to play all over the field and he doesn't necessarily have a designed role, wants to just find the ball, make a play. You talked about it, EJ. The Florida State game was beyond disappointing for him. But I also think that game in general just really broke that whole team, which is a different, bigger issue. But it's specifically from what I saw from Hubbard, I like I said, I love his ability to attack the run going downfield. I like his ability to attack screens. Closing speed on receivers is fantastic. Break up passes, he does it all. And I think for safeties, that's something I look for. I really enjoy watching Antoine Winfield play for the Bucs. He plays that same way. Like if you watched this past weekend, he was the reason that they made the stop there at the end against the Falcons, making a late pass breakup, covering great distance to break up that pass. That's something Hubbard's capable of doing. And I think that's something where if Alabama can bounce back as a team and he can put more of that on tape, we saw it last year, made me a fan of him. I'd like to see more of that this year to kind of continue that trend.
Do you guys see Sabb and Hubbard day 2, day 3?
Probably best case scenario, day 2.
I would say day 2 upside for sure. I could see day 3, early day 3 probably as like a floor type scenario. Like,
and I probably should have worded it like that, right? Because everything I've heard on both safeties is that people like them. It seemed like when we've done safety shows, Hubbard was more consistently higher than Sabb. Like we did. I think we had 3 people do a safety big board, and Hubbard was the 4th safety on everybody's board. Number 3 changed, the top two were the same. 3 changed. And Hubbard was 4, and then Sabb was on some of the boards, but wasn't on all in like their top 10. But it feels like they're in that round 4, like, and it's great value if you get them in round 5.
Oh yeah. I mean, Hubbard might even go before round 4. I think he's like a 3rd round type of guy.
And like you were saying, EJ, that he could put on a little bit of weight and possibly be a linebacker.
If he could. I mean, he could. By all means, he can stay at safety, absolutely. But I was looking at that size. Would he be a difference maker at linebacker? Because I look at him, and the closer to the line of scrimmage he is, the more effective he is. So I want to put him in all the action. I don't want him sitting back on the roof of the defense just watching and waiting. I want to put him in all the action because he'll come up and knock somebody's head off. He'll break up some passes. Like Andrew said, he does all of that. So I want to put him as close to the action as possible.
Yeah. So Buffalo likes safeties that convert to linebacker. That's what Matt Milano was saying. And Buffalo has a need at linebacker and a need at safety next year with just expiring contracts. So I'm paying close attention to the safety and linebacker classes this year. Okay, so Alabama has a couple of interior offensive linemen, Jaeden, Roberts, Parker, Brailsford. Which lineman do you have graded higher, EJ?
Talent-wise is Jaeden Roberts, but he's not even starting right now, which is wild. I watched Jaeden Roberts last summer, watched a little bit of him this summer. His play strength is phenomenal. He's just like he can knock somebody's head off. He can knock anybody out of this world if he wanted to. But it's just I don't know if technique-wise he's up to speed there yet. Parker Brailsford, I think he's a solid center. He does well on his double teams. He can get out and his accuracy when he get into the second level, he always manages to get his hands on somebody. I think he's just a solid player. More of a, I would say he's like a high floor type of player where he is what he is. He's going to be a solid player for you. He's not going to be the star of your offensive line, but he's going to do his job. I think Jaeden Roberts has more upside, but he also has a lower floor. He may not even make it at all in the league. But I would say Jaeden Roberts is the more talented player, but Parker Brailsford is the more solid and consistent player.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, again, you want to talk about players we've watched a couple times. Both of them, I feel like could have come out last year and they didn't. I had Roberts higher than Brailsford, but again, I think both of them could be serviceable right off the bat. Come in and play, learn on the fly, and you'd be okay. I like Roberts. Oh God, we're gonna pause. I did like Roberts more last year. I remember as well. Brailsford coming over from Washington with Daybor. I was interested to see how he would adjust to the SEC, and I remember watching this summer. I thought he did well, making that adjustment. Let me see. I'm just getting my report up here. I thought I had it up. Yeah, I had for Roberts. Run blocking was, I thought, could be dominant at times. Plays with a whistle to take defenders out of play. Good balance and footwork. Physical play style that matches the SEC. So it's what you get out of an Alabama guard. And I think it's something where that, again, plug and play day 2 type guy. You have a hole at guard or you want to compete with someone who's going into a contract year to push them. I think Roberts is your guy, and then you get pleasantly surprised. You get a Dominic Cooney type effect where 49ers hit a home run and they've got their guard for the future type of scenario.
Okay. So I'm looking, I don't think I've missed an offensive lineman.
No. I guess the Florida State game, I was impressed by the left guard, Cam Dewberry. He was impressive. That was my first time seeing him. He was impressive. I thought he showed some good hands, some good mobility. I thought they had something going in the run game on that left side of the line. He was a big part of that. But I'm excited to see how he does going forward. I think he's a transfer from, I forget where he was from, but he's a transfer player.
Is Cam Robinson in this draft class?
Cam Robinson.
That's who you is it Robinson or Robertson?
Oh no, the left guard, Cam Dewberry, number 71.
Oh, got it.
You combine Jaden Roberts and Cam.
Yeah.
Alabama throws a lot at you. No, but it's
Yeah.
funny you did mention Dewberry. I had his name on there. I hadn't watched him yet, but I did write him down as somebody to watch this year and keep track of. And Texas A&M is where he came from, which I swear Texas A&M is just a pipeline for Alabama and the rest of the SEC at this point.
Exactly. They just let Texas A&M get the talent. Like, okay, we'll coach you up right over here.
Exactly.
Well, and I think it's if you're from Texas, it's almost like if you play high school in Texas, you're not allowed to leave Texas.
Initially.
Right. But then you start seeing that, hey, if you're not getting playing time, I got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like,
right.
Unless other schools come with their NIL money and playing time, they ready to move on.
Yeah. So several other players in this game draft eligible. I know Alabama has a lot of wide receivers, but without me prompting you guys, who else in this game do you guys have your eyes on for the draft? Wide receivers or any other position?
You can go first, EJ, if you want.
All right. So I got two players. Actually three. Cuevas, I had him as one of my sleepers as well. I saw him in the Florida State game. They play him pretty much on the edge. Had him playing against the run, setting the edge. His big thing is play strength. So I'm watching him throughout the year. One guy I had not seen before is the defensive tackle, number 23, James Smith. This guy, former 5-star recruit, he moves very, very well. Listed at 6'2", 6'3", 297. Excellent get off, excellent burst, excellent explosiveness. And he popped against Florida State, and he pretty much popped against ULM. It was a physical mismatch against ULM, but he's a guy that can shoot a gap. He can get upfield. He has some handwork, even though that can be developed even more. But you see his explosiveness against the pass and against the run. So he's getting in the backfield. He's creating havoc on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So I'm excited to see him going forward. And the other guy that caught my eye was the other linebacker, Justin Jefferson. Not the Vikings guy, but the other linebacker, Justin Jefferson, 6'1", 227. He has, from on the tape, he looks like he has a little bit more burst and range than Deontae Lawson. He looks like he's that type of run and chase linebacker that can get out in space and make his plays and run down the quarterback scrambling or run down the running back on the outside zone. But he looks like an explosive type of player, so he's a guy I want to keep an eye on as well.
Andrew, how about you? What other players in this game?
I had Jefferson, who he mentioned, and then the other one I was looking just before. This is why I had EJ go first. Jam Miller, who's been dealing with an ankle injury. He's a game time decision. If he plays, I think it's going to be a very big help to Alabama because that's something where they've got to have the run game going. Whenever they have it going, the offense just runs smoother, and they haven't had that. And then obviously another name I think everyone knows but just hasn't played because he had a tightrope surgery right before the year was big Tim Keenan in the middle of their defensive line, but he's not going to be in this game. But Jam Miller has a chance to play. We won't know till Saturday.
Yeah, Jam is fun too. He's fun to watch. Like he's got really good quickness. He's one of those shifty type of running backs that always makes the first defender miss. He's a fun guy to watch, and I think he had, before he got injured, he was like the number one running back on their for their offense before he got hurt. So I'm excited to see him coming back. But he's one of those guys where you just get him the ball in open space, he's going to make a couple of guys look dumb.
Okay, so there's a lot of wide receivers on the board here for Alabama. Andrew, you've already mentioned Germie Bernard. We should probably talk about him again, but there's also Isaiah Horton, and there's also Jalen Hale. You want to, Andrew, at least talk about Bernard, and if you have anything on the other two, feel free.
I don't have anything on the other two, but Bernard, like I said, I watched this summer and was a big fan of. He's somebody that I like his versatility. I think he's somebody you could play outside. You could put him in at the slot. He can work the sideline. He could work the middle of the field. Good awareness, good body control when he's going up, attacking the ball at the high point. He can be physical, fighting through press coverage. He can find holes in the zone. He really does everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've seen him in mock drafts as high as the middle of the first round. I've seen mock drafts where he's not in the first round. So he's really kind of an acquired taste, I would say. But I think he's one of those guys where he could very easily be a T. Higgins type where falls to round 2 and then he gets picked and produces right away. And you're like, how the heck did this happen? Sort of situation. So,
And I think you bring up a good point, and I like saying this. And this is one of the reasons that I created a draft podcast, right? So the goal is to draft starters. Germie Bernard profiles to be an NFL starter.
Yeah.
He's probably not going to be your wide receiver 1 based on everything that I have heard. But if you can draft a starter like Emeka Egbuka, I don't know that anybody ever said he was going to be a wide receiver 1, but he's still a first-round pick because he's a starting NFL wide receiver, as you know, Andrew, covering the Buccaneers. So I hear, Bernard is in kind of like that Egbuka range. He's going to go between 25 and 55 because you're getting yourself a starter.
He's somebody that, all those teams that potentially need a quarterback in the first round that also need a weapon for that quarterback, that's somebody they could get in the top of the second round and be like, okay, now we got you your tag team partner, basically, or somebody to build that chemistry with and that connection with. So, which, again, I think that's what the Bengals did with Higgins and Burrow. So, worked out well for them. Yeah, it took a while to get a contract done for one of them. But yeah, no, I think he's just one of those guys where, and I think Egbuka is a good example where Egbuka didn't do anything great, but he just did everything so well that you knew he was going to be a safe pick. And I think Bernard's the same way where it can seem boring, but general managers like safe picks because you don't have to worry about them missing. And for all intents and purposes, he just seems like a really just well-rounded, safe player that is going to make somebody look really good come next April and into training camp in the preseason.
EJ, where are you in the Alabama wide receiver room? I only got to look at Germie Bernard and the other guys. Isaiah Horton, tall guy from Miami. I haven't seen a whole lot from him. All the only reps I saw from him, they kind of just used him on some decoy routes. But as far as Germie Bernard, I think he's just like a solid all-around player. He's the guy that's going to be most effective with a team that already has their established number 1 wide receiver. Because when I watch him, I would put him in the offense and say, go do what Chris Godwin does. Just go be an effective run after the catch guy. Be solid hands. Go be an excellent route runner that you are. And I don't need him to necessarily just take the top off the defense, but if he can work the short to intermediate area of the field and just be a volume catcher, I think that's where his true value lies in the NFL.
I'm doing some counting here. Okay, so why don't we pause and let everybody know who we are, and then I have a little game we can play when we're finished. Andrew, you want to let everybody know about all the writing you do and the other content that you make?
Yeah, so I'm the managing editor and lead writer at Bucks Wire and Vikings Wire, which, depending on how crazy my brain is, sometimes you get Buck stuff posted on Viking stuff, as you saw this past week if you were paying close attention, which was great. But no, so my main focus, though, I would say my Twitter timeline that I have on here is the Bucks. Game day coverage, I'm usually posting about the Bucks and everything like that. Draft stuff every Friday. So tomorrow I'll put out what their team needs are, players to watch as like an ultimate viewing guide. So Bucks are trying to plan ahead for Levante David because I still think Servace Dennis is just not it. So I'll give you a linebacker to watch at noon, a linebacker to watch at 3:30, a linebacker to watch at 7:30. And if you're a psycho like me and you want to watch a linebacker at 10:30 or 11, I got a linebacker for you to watch on the late show. So, but I do that for all the positions in need for the Bucks and the Vikings. So if you're a fan of those teams, or if you're, as I put in my posts, if you're in the division with those teams and you want to know who they might get, I give you an ultimate viewing guide for that. So even if you're not just a fan of them, but a draft fan, I give you a little bit of a viewing guide for that.
Which linebacker from the Texas A&M Notre Dame game made the list?
Oh God, I don't even. You're really putting me on the spot here. That is my nightly work here. I do. I have not planned that far ahead.
That's a joke because there's a good linebacker on each team.
Well, I was going to say Torian York is going to be the Texas A&M, and then Drake Bowen's going to be the Notre Dame one. So they'll both be on the list, and then so yeah, that'll definitely be a game. See, you already did some of my work for me. What I'm trying to get the plug.
EJ.
You can pretty much catch me two places. You catch me here every Thursday, 9:00. This is our Relevant podcast. Pretty much we're going to be breaking down any and all things draft. You can catch me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Pretty much on there, I'm doing film breakdown, scheme breakdowns, a little splash of Eagles stuff, but pretty much film-based opinions. I never use the word generational, and don't argue with me, argue with the film. Plain and simple.
I thought of you this week when Ryan Clark was going off about that.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can't believe
Yep.
So you can follow the channel at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. It's the same on X as it is on YouTube. And what you get when you subscribe on YouTube is daily draft content. This is the second podcast that we did today. Every day at 7 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Eastern, we have a draft podcast coming to you. So in the month of September, it's game previews, very similar to how EJ and Andrew broke down the Alabama and Wisconsin rosters and who's draft eligible and kind of how they've graded them so far. And then starting the second week of October, every podcast is going to start breaking down a position. So EJ and Andrew specifically will be joining me, and we're breaking down the running backs, and we will discuss the 40 running backs that we've decided to cover. We don't want to say they're the 40 best, but they're probably, we're probably going to get the 20 best out of the group of 40 that we cover. So every podcast, we'll break down 8 different running backs. We'll make sure the evaluations are up to date with 2025 game film. So after 5 podcasts, we should have a reasonable handle on what a running back board for this draft class looks like. And every other podcast will be covering a different position. And in addition to that, we have a Saturday podcast, we have a Sunday podcast, and we have 94 people at the Draft Professor. My 24 favorite of those are the people that show up once a week, like EJ and Andrew. They show up every Thursday at 9, and we put out a podcast. And there's like 11 other podcast groups just like EJ and Andrew. So with that being said, for Alabama, Wisconsin, 13.5. Do you think, EJ, more or less than 13.5 players from this game get drafted in the 2026 draft?
13 and less. I would say less. Yeah, 13 is a high number. That's a high number. I would say less.
Okay. Andrew, are you counting?
Yeah, I was. I'm at 10 that I feel comfortable with. But there's obviously room for more. I would say there's the potential to be over, but I would say a safe floor, to use that word again, is 10 right now, with Alabama clearly doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. I think it just depends on a lot of those guys that we talked about that transferred into Alabama, if they come back or not. I think that would be really what determines if that number hits the over or not. Like the Newberries, those receivers you talked about. For Wisconsin, it's going to be Vinny Anthony, I think, would be a big one. They have some other players, Corey Walker, Preston Zachman, who can make a difference. Mahlman and Ricardo Hallman are going to be gone. They've been there for a quarter of a century, I feel like, at this point. So their names I threw in there. Yeah, exactly.
So when I was coming up with the 13.5, I'll tell you, I'm going to start rattling off the names. So LT Overton, Caden Proctor, James Smith, Domani Jackson, Jaeden Roberts. That's 5. Deontae Lawson, Tim Keenan, Keon Sabb, Bray Hubbard, Parker Brailsford. That would be 10. Germie Bernard, Christian Alliegro, Jamarion Miller, Billy Edwards Jr., and I'm at 14. Riley Mahlman would be up to 15. So out of the 15 players that I mentioned, if you say 2 of them won't get drafted, we're under. That was how I came up with that number. Because Billy Edwards Jr., I realize, might be a stretch. Like, not everybody, like EJ said, like, it's an average arm.
Graham Mertz got drafted. If Graham Mertz can get drafted, anybody can.
Anything can happen.
I remember last year when he went ahead of Shador, I was like, okay, they're just trying to be mean at this point because there's no way that did not deserve to happen.
They're just trolling us at this point.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, well, and I mean, I think the lesson we all learned from Shador is don't let your father be your agent, even if your father is a Hall of Fame football player.
Exactly.
Right? Like, agents matter. You have to go on your pre-draft visits. The pre-draft process matters.
Yeah,
and I think
he can't handle the draft process like his father did.
What was that, EJ?
I said he can't handle the draft process like his father did because his father just blew off the draft process because he was that good. Shador can't do that.
Yep. I agree. But we are going to close this down. The Packers-Commanders game is on. I almost said Packers-Redskins. The Packers-Commanders game is on. So for EJ, Andrew, myself, the 94 Podcasters, the Draft Professor, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll be here next week to do the Utah-Texas Tech game. Looking forward to hearing that breakdown. Have a great night. Thank you, everybody.